The first tool, really, I'd say, to deal with this existential crisis was sort of getting into nihilism. Like, it allows you to just destroy everything within yourself, and from this, you can just build yourself up again, even stronger. And I feel like way more resilient now that I've been through that. So, if you just take it as it is, the existential crisis, it's really a bad thing, like a really horrible thing. But you have to see further than that.
I think we all have the point. Everyone just tries to still
So guys, welcome to the Dark Side of Self-Development podcast. I'm your host, John Killingsworth, and I'm here with my friend and also one of my first few clients. His name is Milan, and I helped him through his personal development journey, and he even has a YouTube channel that's called An Anxious Idealist. So Milan, welcome to the show.
Yeah, well, I'm really, really happy to be here, really. Yeah.
Nice, cool. Yeah, well, let's start from like the beginning and sort of like your, I guess your journey in personal development, right? And just tell us a bit about like your journey, how you got started, and kind of your journey overall.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, I started getting self-development at about 16. I read this book, The Alchemist, from Paulo Coelho. And it really made me go into self-development, and I really enjoyed it at the time, and I felt way better when I was getting into it. I saw new ways of thinking about life, and it really allowed me to discover more of my true self. Mm-hmm. And at about age 18, I started getting into depression and an existential crisis. And after this long time of long negative time, I discovered new parts of myself that were that allowed me to express even more of myself. And after this, it's when I started this YouTube channel, and I started getting my own inner values, and I got involved into MBTI also, which really allowed me to get into a new phase of self-development that was way more expressive than the one before, where I was just like binge watching, like I was just a self-development junkie, before. Yeah. But now I feel more applying it. So yeah, that's basically it.
Nice. Well, yeah, it's always a bit like that, right? When you begin, it's you become a bit of a, I guess, self-development junkie because it's so new to you, and it's like this whole field of improvement, right? That opens up to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like, it's around like, I guess your existential crisis point that we start coaching together. How did you? What are certain things you did to, I guess, deal with that crisis, and what were the main tools or things you did to deal with that?
Mm-hmm. So at first, I think the most important thing I've ever done, to get started in that time, was acceptance of the existential crisis. Because if you start trying to deny it, which most people do, actually, I think that the existential crisis sinks into your unconscious, and you still get affected by this existential crisis. Like, you may feel it less in your emotions, but it affects you in your life anyway. And I think it's really important to accept it at first, and to when you accept it, you can then start. Creating a new version of yourself, because I feel like in an existential crisis, what happens is you totally get rid of the concept of who you are, and there's just a void in you. And I think it's sort of a positive thing, this existential crisis, because it allows you from this void to create a new concept of yourself that has more. You can create it from within yourself, and I think it's really a good thing. Like, for me, I know, like, in the moment, the existential crisis was a horrible thing to go through, but when I look back at it, it really allowed me to change. And I, yeah, I literally, um, yeah, I literally created a new concept of who I am, and that was really important. And so, yeah, the first tool, really, I'd say to deal with this existential crisis was sort of getting into nihilism,
Okay, yeah.
because just this idea that life in itself has no meaning, and that the thing is that you create your own meaning out of it. It's not external events creating it, and that's really a good thing, I think, because you can create your own self-empowerment with this idea. And yeah, it just like it allows you to just destroy everything within yourself, and from this you can just build yourself up again, even stronger. And I feel like way more resilient now that I've been through that. So
Nice,
there's
nice.
that, like there's also, yeah, it's also the idea of making it something positive. If you just take it as it is, the existential crisis, it's really a bad thing, like really
Yeah,
horrible
yeah.
thing. But you have to see further than that. You have to just, if you just, yeah, you just have to create something out of that. And but the other things that helped me were, uh, of course, the coaching with you, because it allowed me to, like, you gave me advice, like, to find my own inner values.
Yeah.
And it's actually you who got me started into, like, testing myself at MBTI. And
Yeah, yeah, that was the
that
first
was,
step, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I tested myself before, but I didn't take it seriously. Like, I mean, I may have tested myself like 3 years ago or something, and I just saw the letters and I was like, yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
what that means. So yeah, I got that, and just creating this my own inner values
Hmm.
was really super important, because I feel now that I have this sometimes, like every 3 4 days I just look them up again, and I just realize that in those days I've been acting on those values more, and I feel
Nice, nice.
yeah, it's really good thing. And I yeah, also what helped me was to start reading about Zen Buddhism and Taoism, which are really important to reconnect to the world, to just realize that you're one with the world, one with the universe. That creates a basis of connection to everything that is quite good, because in this existential crisis, I didn't feel connected to anything really, and now
Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel I have a better level of connection. And I feel, yeah, it was those those three things, the values, MBTI, and Zen Buddhism and Taoism.
Nice. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. I really like the part you talked about, like how the existential crisis, it's a sort of opportunity for you to recreate yourself in a sense, right? It's kind of,
Mhm.
you could say that the idea of Nameless and my channel also kind of came from this. I had this sort of crisis
Yeah.
point in my life, right? Quarter life or existential crisis. And I had to rebuild myself. So I sort of created this, I guess, this alter ego, Nameless, that basically is me, right? It's like me, but just with like a plastic thing on my face. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's super interesting what you say about how like you need this sort of it's like a sort of cathartic purging sort of process, right? Where when like a crisis, it allows you to see the truth, right? I feel like that's what it is. It's like you you sort of realize that our time on earth is short. It's kind of meaningless, but you gotta live your life while it's even if there's not much meaning, it doesn't matter. You still have to get up in the morning and do what you have to do. So yeah, you do something with it, and that's amazing. Nice. And how did,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, you talk about the MBTI test, right? So that basically, just an overview for all the subscribers who don't know what that is. Basically, like a it's a personality test. Basically, it's called the Myers-Briggs personality test. You can do it on 16personalities.com. And basically, you do the test, and it tells you your personality type. There's 16 types, and it's like it gives you 4 letters, right? So it's like dichotomy. So you could be INFP or ESTJ, or so it's sort of like dichotomies like that, right? So for those who don't know, like you do the test, it's better you do the test because the rest of the maybe the the remaining of this podcast maybe might not make sense. So anyways, just a tangent here. So yeah, let's dive into, like, tell me how this MBTI test helped you, like you discovering your INFP. How did that change things for you? How did that help your personal development?
Well, the thing is, well, at first I tested myself and it didn't make any sense at all.
Okay.
I didn't understand the letters and stuff, like
Yeah,
really
yeah, yeah.
not. But then I looked at YouTube videos about my type, which is INFP,
Mhm.
and there's this guy called Eric Thor. Is a
Oh,
guy
this guy, yeah.
doing you know this guy, yeah.
Yeah.
He's doing a lot of, like, he's an INFJ too,
Mhm.
like you, and
Yeah.
he's making a lot of videos about IN personality types. So I
Mhm.
mean, introverted, intuitive types, and I really related a lot to those videos, and then I started going deeper into it. I started getting into the cognitive functions,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which are like way more important than the test in itself, because the
Oh, yeah,
test in
yeah.
itself is quite, like, most people will just see it as pseudoscience because
Yeah, honestly, the test is
yeah,
it's like an entry. It's like an entry point into. I feel like the test is a good entry point to get you interested, but then you
yeah,
really have to do your research because I think at least 60% of people they get mistyped, and they it's like
yeah,
they don't answer accurately, or maybe sometimes the problem is the test, it's not them, and it's can
yeah.
cause problems. Yeah.
There's a lot of biases in the test, actually, because most people they have a bias, for example, for the N types, for intuitives. Like,
Yeah.
it's said in the test that mostly that the way they say it, like being an intuitive is something really good, and so most people want to be this person, want to be intuitive, and so they
Oh,
mistype
yeah.
themselves intuitives rather than sensors, because sensors
Yeah,
seem
yeah.
like very superficial when they when yes. So I mean, there's more to it than that, of course, and it's yeah, there's some biases in the test, but it's a good entry point, that's for
Yeah.
sure. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And well, yeah, it allowed me to accept myself, because actually I think being an INFP is actually one of the hardest type to deal with in life,
Probably,
because you
yeah.
just, yeah, I suppose. I mean, I don't really know. Like, I mean, to get involved into the outer world, it's something very hard, because I think
Mhm.
INFPs are the most idealistic and stuck in their heads types.
Mhm.
So that really allowed me to see my weaknesses, and then of course I had to accept myself as an INFP, because it's something you
Mhm.
cannot change. It's test. It's inborn preferences.
Yeah.
So so yeah, I mean, just I saw, like, I realized that there was a lot of those inborn preferences that I was using back then, but I wasn't like consciously aware of them. And just being consciously aware of them really allows you to just sometimes you have to dismiss those inborn preferences to just to adapt into the outer world, for example.
Mhm. Mhm.
And well, it's really important to see, really interesting to see your weaknesses.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Yeah, so
so.
that's so important, yeah. That
Yeah.
when you that's also something that I learned from, discovering my type is really your uh not only your strengths, but your weaknesses, which really helps with having a strong sense of identity, right? Because I feel like also
Mhm.
what contributes to reaching like a existential or quarter life crisis is we lose our sense of who we are, because maybe we get like entangled in like everyday things, everyday actions, and we just kind of forget, like why we were born, or like why what we're supposed to do with our lives, right? And then we reach that point of like, what's the point of all life? And it's kind of like I feel like it's also having more self knowledge definitely I think helps with that for sure. Yeah. And
Yeah, I mean
yeah,
it's a good base on
yeah,
like
it's a base.
knowing who you are. Like, of course, it doesn't say like who you are really, because not all INFPs are the same, not all
Exactly.
INFJs are the same. So it's
Exactly. Yeah.
just a basis of it. It's a
Yeah.
basis of who you are in some way.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I mean,
it's really
it's a tool that maybe it helps you understand 1% of you, maybe, like or
yeah,
something
yeah,
like that. Yeah. But
mhm,
even 1% makes the difference, right? So yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
sure.
I mean, we could go very deep here and like try to ask like, who are we really, right? I mean, the guy
Yeah,
behind the mask is it's just a man like you, right? Just a guy like you, but at the end of the day, we're like, right? We are we're whatever we are, right? We are. I guess we're
yeah,
God, you could say, or we could say we're infinity,
yeah,
we're the void, and it's it's kind of scary to think about that, right? The more you dig deep into yourself, the more you realize that there's, I guess, nothing to find, right? It's like we're
yeah,
trying. It's like our ego trying to grasp onto, oh, this is me, or this is
yeah,
what I am. But actually, if you think about it, it's like that's just that's your ego speaking, right? Even our ego is like trying to like put ourselves in a box, like, okay, I'm an INFJ or like I'm an INFP, and
yeah,
it's like it's a very it's a paradox. On one hand, you understand who you are, right? Like you want to understand your ego, like who you are as an ego, as a human being, but also in a spiritual perspective, it's like at the end of the day, you're like the universe. You are like right.
yeah.
That's kind of what we are. So
Yeah,
crazy
yeah.
to
I mean,
think
there's
about.
no real limits, like limits to who you are. Like, it's all the interactions that you have with the outside world also that count, as who you are in some way. And it's really hard to grasp like who you are with your intellect, because
Hmm.
it's something that is hard to describe in words, really. Like, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, exactly. That's the thing with human language. It's even us talking here, and it just even self development videos. I'm that giving advice like to be confident, you have to take action, all that. But these are just words, right? And words
yeah,
only take you so far. And it's us like sort of having it's like a language game where you're trying to explain a concept by pointing to it with different words. But at the end of the day, it's like the void. It's like a it's like
yeah.
right. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, especially within self-development, because for example, this advice of saying like be yourself, it kind of means nothing, because what
yeah.
what is yourself? Like,
Yeah, who
just
are
like
you?
sometimes you shouldn't be yourself also. I mean, it
Yeah,
depends how you define yourself,
yeah,
because
that depends what you mean by
it's
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, going back to going being like sort of intuitive types and introvert types. I feel like a lot of people who watch my channel, a lot of you, probably 90% of you are introverts. So like
yeah,
you, after let's say you discovered that you were INFP, that like I guess you always knew that you were an introvert, right? In a sense, you kind of it's like
yeah, in a
I guess
sense.
a feeling, right? How do you how do you sort of navigate the world as an introvert, right? Whether it be socially or uh, I guess
You
just
mean
day to
back then,
day.
or
What?
you mean back then? You mean back then when I wasn't conscious that I was like when
No, like
in
right. Actually, right now, like with the knowledge that you have right
yeah.
now in the present, how do you navigate the world as an introvert?
Yeah, well, the thing I think that is important is that, most introverted people try
Mm-hmm.
to deny that they're introverts, and they try to act as
Yeah,
extroverts, going to
yeah.
parties and do stuff, but then it just gets you rid of your energy, because that's what it is about. Like, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
introverted people like lose energy with social interactions. Like,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, they don't, not necessarily all the time, because of course, like, we can gain energy out of one-on-one conversation, but most of the time, like, getting into a party with five, six, seven, eight people sometimes is too much, and it just gets rid
Yeah,
of our
Yeah.
energy in some way. So I mean, in a
Yeah.
way, you have to accept that you're an introvert. That's the first thing to do. I mean, and then it's well, yeah, you have to concentrate more on one-on-one conversation with people,
Mhm.
and well, it's yeah, the thing is like what I'm saying here. I'm saying that, but I'm not totally good as an introvert in
Mhm.
like everyday life. Sometimes I still have problems,
Yeah. Yeah.
like sometimes with yeah, because sometimes you have to get involved in sort of superficial conversations, and
Yeah. Yeah.
that's really like for an introvert in itself, I don't think it's that big of a problem. But when you're IN and intuitive, it gets really your energy, like it takes it all out, in just a few minutes, you could just be like, getting rid of all your energy. And well, you also have to deal with things that are not, like the world is extroverted, most people are
Yeah. Yeah.
extroverted, and it's you have to deal with that, and sometimes it feels like a weakness to be an introvert, but there's also great strength actually in it. I mean, you're very introspective, far
Okay.
more introspective, and that allows you to be more aware of yourself. Like most of the time, of course, like I'm not saying that most introverted people are more aware of themselves. That's not true, but like as a general rule, I suppose so. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a balance of you know, as introverts, you have to live. You have to respect your inner world, right? Your inner world is everything. As an introvert, is all that there is like your ideas, your mind, like
Yeah.
your vision and all that. But at the same time, it's like you have to navigate the social world, and sometimes you don't really have a
Mhm.
choice. Just recently, a guy came to change the internet. I'm like, oh god damn it, I gotta speak to a human being today, and like, hey, how's it going? Oh yeah, here's the internet. Yeah, it's just like this day to day thing, and he's sort of
Yeah.
like, but you kind of have to. I feel like it's at the same time you don't want to box yourself as an introvert, but at the same time it's okay to be an introvert, right? Sort of like this self
Yeah.
acceptance, but also not be afraid to expand your concept of who you are, right? So for example, me,
Yeah.
I in my a few years ago when I was still part of the, you call it, the PUA community, I would go out a lot, socialize a lot, and it really expanded sort of my idea of who I was, right? So it's sort of like I
Mhm.
never boxed myself as an introvert, and it taught me a
Mhm.
lot of things, right? I sort of went full circle where I went like very extroverted for when I was in college, and when I was like 19 and so forth, 18, 19, and then I came back. Now I'm back to like full on introvert. And right now with the quarantine, it's perfect to be an introvert, right? It's
Yeah.
like it's like an introvert's paradise,
Yeah.
kind of, right? Not
Kind of.
always, but and then yeah, I feel like it's you're an introvert, but also I think it's good to expand as well. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like I don't think I'd be capable to do the same thing as you did, like going to parties and
Yeah, yeah.
start, kissing random girls and stuff. Like I don't know if I'd be capable of that, but that also depends on our level of introversion, of course, because
Yeah, yeah.
it's on a spectrum. Because
Hmm.
yeah, there's that, and yeah, of course, I totally approve of that, of like pushing your boundaries, but I think I'm just not into that yet.
Yeah, that's
I'm
fine.
getting
Yeah.
into it slowly, very slowly, but I don't think of really going to parties. I don't think I would really do that. But
No.
we have different styles of yeah of going with that. But of course, yeah, it's really important to push your boundaries. Like if you stay like just yourself and you
Mhm.
don't talk to people, like introverted people need people still. Like I mean,
Yeah,
less
yeah,
than extrovert, but we need people. Like I mean, it's important to like to expand the concept of who you
yeah.
are
Yep,
and
yep.
to just just it's enjoyable also. We have to say, as introverts, sometimes it's enjoyable
Yeah, yeah.
to talk to people. It's just this general idea that introverted people are just like not wanting social contact at all. Like that's not like, and we see it during the quarantine times. Actually, I kind of feel that this quarantine time actually is affecting introvert introverts more than we would think it would at first. Like
Hmm.
just not being able to create new connections, and I feel like for me it's important to create those new connections,
Oh
and
yeah,
I just feel kind of stuck in that. Even though I still met new people during this quarantine time, but
yeah.
I just feel like I could have so much more. I could just expand the concept of who I am much more, and just connect and find like really good friends. And it's kind of frustrating, I'd say.
Uh-huh.
Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
yeah,
It's like it's a strange thing, but a lot of introverts, including me, before it's we say that we don't like going out to events and all that, socializing, but at the same times we're lonely and we want connection.
yeah,
So it's like this weird paradox, like, well, I don't like to socialize, but I'm lonely. What do I do? And it's like this. It's I think
yeah,
it's a matter, when this happens. I think it's a matter of seeking the right connections, right? Or sort of trying to find the
yeah,
people you can connect with one on one,
yeah,
instead of just going to like a club. I think going to a nightclub is like the worst thing you could do, like as a as an introvert. I mean, it's good to, like, if you wanna, I don't know, put yourself out of your comfort zone one night, but like I think
yeah,
fundamentally, I think we need deep connections, like a few deep
yeah, yeah.
connections is much more important. Like me, for example, I have about 5 to 6 close friends. That's pretty much it, right? That's like
Mhm.
my circle of friends. I have a few friends outside of that, but that's pretty much it, right? And yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's kind of the way to go. I think about socializing.
yeah. I mean, it's just about being selective. That's the thing. When you're an introvert,
Hmm.
you just have to be more selective on with who you interact with. Like, I mean, yeah, it's really important to create deeper connections
Hmm.
than most. Like, what most extroverts do is they just like feel this connection with nearly everybody,
Yeah, yeah. I
and
mean, I sometimes you wonder if
it's
it's
what I feel.
ever real or not, right? Because it's,
Yeah,
but maybe they're just good with connecting. I don't know. They're extroverts are
yeah,
like extroverts are like a mystery to me, like a total mystery.
same.
Yeah,
Exactly the same.
yeah,
I Yeah. It's yeah, I just don't know how they could get energy out of speaking, like of going to parties and stuff. Like, just I really
yeah.
don't get it. Like,
Uh,
you can sort of understand them, but you cannot like feel them really. If
yeah,
that makes
yeah. I
sense.
mean,
It's
yeah. I guess it depends on
yeah, possible.
on the extrovert, but yeah. But talking about
Yeah,
like connection and you talk about like feelings, like us as sort of introverted types, I guess we're more in touch with, I guess, our inner world, right? And you,
mhm,
especially as an INFP, what I've read about INFPs is you're really in touch with your emotions, right? It's like your emotional world
yeah,
is everything in a way, right? So what's
yeah,
your advice to, like, I guess any people who are not INFPs, or just like regular people who watch my channel, like maybe like uh, young
yeah.
adults that, like, they're struggling with like that emotional numbness, or not being in touch with their emotions. What would you tell them?
Yeah, well, yeah, the thing first you have to understand about INFPs is that sometimes our emotions are too much for us. Like, sometimes we're too in tune with our emotions that it
Yeah,
just
yeah,
stops us, and we
I
feel
see.
them so deeply inside that it's just sometimes it can be a hindrance. So we kind of need to like go the other way, kind of to just
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
not be so in tune sometimes. But yeah, so I'd say for people that struggle with emotions, like uh, the thing is, most people struggle with emotions because
Mm-hmm.
most of the time emotions are seen as hindrances of being human.
Yeah.
With emotions, you cannot do certain things because your emotions will stop you from doing it, and most people see it this way, I'd say, as a limitation, emotions, especially if you're ST type, I'd say, or NT type, you would see it this way, I suppose. But
Yeah, yeah,
we have
yeah.
to realize that it's a part of being human. I mean, if we had no emotions, we wouldn't really differentiate each other, and we'll be like robots, kind of.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's an important thing. Emotions are part of who you are as a human being, and it makes you empathetic, and it makes you, feel other people, and it's it's an important thing. And like if you're struggling with emotional numbness, I suppose it's sort of a different thing because as myself as an INFP, I'm really in tune to my emotions. And when I got in
Mhm.
this emotional numbness, actually, it's the worst thing that ever could happen to me because I didn't feel anything, and I am a feeler type, so I'm just feeling so much more, uh, frustrated about it,
Mm.
So that's basically how I think most of the times when I have a problem, an emotional problem or anything. At first, I accept it. I accept that
Mhm.
I have this problem, you know, and it's the basic thing you have to do because there's or acceptance or denial, and when you deny, you just can't solve anything further,
Yeah, yeah.
because you just yeah. So you need at first to accept this. Well, emotional numbness, however like hard it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's yeah, I know it's hard, like easily said than done, of course, but it's about making those steps towards accepting those emotions, or this lack of emotion rather, and
Yeah, yeah.
from and like from there on, I think you will start to feel again better,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't really offer an in-depth like advice about that because I haven't really thought it through yet. So I'm
Yeah,
just like
that's
I don't really know, but yeah,
yeah. I mean, it's like even myself. Sometimes I feel that that numbness come again, right? It's like or like that sort of negative emotions come again. I think it's part of human nature. So I don't think we'll ever have it figured it out. Even if I'm like the life coach on YouTube, I also struggle a lot sometimes with certain emotions. It comes as you said, like acceptance is such huge, right? Because um when you become numb emotionally, often it has to do with the thing that because you had certain emotions and then you just kind of push them aside, and
hmm
not consciously, just unconsciously it happens. You kind of push it
yeah,
aside, right? And then it's because of that you reach emotional numbness, and then you reach emotional numbness. You're like, oh, this is bad, and then you push the numbness aside again. It's like this sort of vicious like a spiral, right? A self-fulfilling prophecy because
yeah,
you repress your emotions, then you become numb, and
yeah,
then the numbness occurs, and you don't like it, so you want to get out of it, and you like kind
yeah,
of try, you can't accept it, and it just makes the
yeah,
problem worse, right? So as you've said, sort of accepting
mm,
your emotions is huge.
yeah.
It's
Yeah, I mean, the thing is actually when you deny certain emotions, you create another emotion over it, which is most of the time
oh
is
yeah, yeah,
shame or frustration,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that just makes it worse. And well, I think that most people struggle with that because it's just that they feel emotions are boundaries, and
Yeah, yeah.
but you have to understand that also happiness is an emotion itself. I mean, and that you cannot be happy all the time, and
Yeah.
just a natural cycle of like, yeah, sometimes you have negative emotions. It's just like that, and the more you accept it, the more you become okay with that, with it. So in some way, you become sort of happy in this negative state, even though it's not real happiness, But
Mm-hmm.
when you
Yeah,
have
yeah.
less frustration, it becomes way better to deal with, I feel. But yeah, I'd say that's the most important part of yeah of that
Yeah, yeah.
solution.
Absolutely, yeah. So acceptance, and I feel like when you accept yourself, it's you accept these emotions. It brings you to like a next level of authenticity with yourself, right? Because
Hmm.
now that you accept your emotions, it's like you're more in touch with who you truly are, right? True
Yeah.
who you are as in like a ego self, right? So you're more in
Yeah.
touch
Yeah.
with who you are and your identity, and it helps you to sort of, I guess, is be in touch with your authentic self, right, in a way. And
Hmm.
my question to you is, uh, since you're so in touch with like your inner world as a as a introvert INFP and all that, what's your what is authenticity to you, right? How what is authenticity and how do you cultivate it in your life?
Wow. Hmm. That's a hard question, but
Yeah, yeah.
it's
I like the hard questions. That's
yeah, yeah, I like it. But yeah, authenticity for me is well, it's about accepting all parts of yourself. And I mean, for me, what authenticity means to me,
yeah,
well, I feel like it's accepting all the parts of you, and I feel like it's well, I feel like most people would argue with me, but I feel that like my emotions are part of me.
mhm,
I really feel that, and they're really important to me. I mean, I suppose it's this identity as a feeler, you know.
mhm,
I feel that it's important, and uh, I feel being authentic, authentic is to, well, is like for me, it's trying to act accordingly to my own inner values that I created for
mhm.
myself. I feel that's authenticity, but that's only for me. I think most people are like other people have other definitions of what
Yeah, yeah,
authenticity is. But I feel like, yeah, for me, it's the most important thing is to act uh, as much towards the best version of myself in
yeah,
some
yeah.
way. So yeah, I mean, I but it's a very hard question. I
It
think
is. It is.
I'd have
Yeah.
to think deeper about. I think it's a really good question to ask yourself. I
Yeah,
mean,
honestly, yeah. Even me, I feel like, I talk about being yourself, authenticity, and I'm the guy who wears a mask on the internet and tell people what to do,
yeah,
right? And people are like, "Who are you to talk about authenticity? You're not even showing your real face." And it's like such as it's like an elusive. It's a very elusive concept because on one hand, you want to be you want to be yourself, right? As in like your authentic self,
yeah,
as in like your you know what kind of things you like and dislike, what your values are, and you live in alignment with that. But at the same time, you're gonna be, I feel also like, if you want to strive to become better and to strive to become better than yourself in a way, that's still authentic,
yeah,
right? If me, for example, me, I
yeah,
had this desire to create this alter ego I called Nameless, and that
hmm,
this guy who's confident, who says what he means what he says, he's direct, and can speak public speak well. It all so this is like an alter ego I created, and
yeah,
yes, at the moment when I created that ego, maybe it wasn't me, but because I want to strive towards that authentically, I think that it was authentic, right? So it's strange how it is, right? That um,
hmm,
I think it's a matter of just listening to yourself, right? And
yeah,
listening to what your gut and your heart is telling you, not logically, but I feel like it's like a intuitive sense, right? And
yeah.
it's
You feel
yeah,
it. You feel it's authentic or not. You
yeah,
can't
yeah,
logically say, oh, I'm authentic or I'm not authentic now. I mean, that logically you cannot. That's literally the thing. You cannot grasp authenticity by with your intellect. It's not really
yeah, yeah,
possible because
yeah.
it's something that you feel in some way, and
Mm-hmm.
it's really sort of impossible to explain, really.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly,
s-
exactly. Yeah,
yeah. So I don't
and
know. Maybe other people that are not NF types maybe don't have the same idea of what authenticity is. I mean, in some way, because they may think more logically, in some way, or maybe, yeah, I don't know, maybe they also feel within them that it's, that they're authentic or not. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean
So
it's funny because the people who leave comments under my videos like, yo, like I'm trying to listen to your video, I can't get past the mask, it's creepy. Like I feel like those are like censor types, right? People who are like
yeah,
they look at the appearance first to judge a thing, right? And I think that's the wrong way to look at authenticity, as in like the sort of the physical
yeah,
manifestation of a person. But I think
mhm,
authenticity has to come as a intuitive, right? As we said, so like intuitive uh, expression, right? That kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
yeah, it kind of comes back down to like knowing yourself, your emotions, as like we were saying, right? So yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing is with sensors, I think they would see more authenticity as details of yourself, like
Hmm.
your humor, your like your way to act with people,
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
not, yeah, but the intuitive thing is like, why do I do that? And that's we go deeper than just the what. We go to
Yeah,
the why, and it's
exactly.
well, yeah.
The why is
So
huge. The why is
yeah,
it's like your guiding compass, right? In a way.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's yeah.
Nice. And you're. I want to go back to we're talking about your channel. You call it an anxious idealist, and I feel like it's a cool title because I think a lot of us intuitive introvert types we're quite idealistic, right? We sort of have this huge vision of what we want or how we want the world
Mhm.
to be in a sense, and right, as an idealist, what kind of change do you want to see in the world? What kind of ideas would you like to see happen?
Yeah. So first off, I have to say that I'm gonna say very abstract things.
That's
It's
fine.
not gonna
That's
be
fine. We're abstract
solutions
types
because
here. Yeah.
yeah, 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 no, just it's just gonna be more big picture,
Yeah, that's fine.
because I'm really bad at seeing the details, of what, you know, yeah, of yeah, all that. So I mean, I feel one of the things that well, you can think of now actually, because it's also like it actually created the corona situation also,
Okay.
because it's the relationship we have to nature that is actually so self-destructive that we have now, that I would feel like
Hmm.
if everybody understood at least that they're connected to this nature, and then it's not like this idea like opposite between nature and human beings. That's just intellectual idea. I mean, we both together, nature and human beings, and often people don't realize that, so they just uh, destroy nature, and they kind of feel like they could just like continue doing that and not be affected by it. But the thing is, you will always be affected by it, because
Hmm.
it's the interconnectedness of things. I mean, if you start destroying your environment, you also destroy yourself in some way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people don't really see that, and that's like, I'm saying it's also something that created the corona, because like it said
Hmm.
that some it's the pangolin, this animal, I think, that like that created all that, and in some way it's like multiple theories like are just like from like markets in China that are like
Yeah.
how to say making animals suffer and stuff, and
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's a kind of that, and it's also a reaction to this to this thing. I mean, that we take it as something that is really not natural, even though pandemics are really natural thing. There's something that happens,
Yeah. Yeah.
and if you think very animalistically in some way, it's something that has to happen in some way, because
Hmm. Yeah.
life and death or some life and death are like they need to be, if there was only life, well, the world wouldn't exist actually. It's
Yeah, exactly.
it needs depth, you know, and why it's of course, like I have empathy. I don't want people to die, of course, but it's just if you think more animalistically in some way, if that makes sense, you just realize that it's something that happens, you know, and it's not
It
something you
is.
should struggle against that much, you know. It's something that you, in some way, should go with in some way, even though
Hmm.
it's hard to to really, yeah, to really explain. But I feel this relationship to nature, and of course, there's also this problem of authenticity. Like most people in society are not authentic at all. They just
Yeah,
adapt
true.
to every person they meet, and they don't like they have a different sense of self with everybody, and it's like just to get out their, you know, their own like get what they want out of people, sort of. And I feel it's sort of it's really something that is problematic. Like for me, I feel it's problematic that people are not acting
Yeah.
authentic, and I think that's mostly my intuition saying that. You know, I would just want people to be more aware of themselves and more deep. You know, deep and
Yeah.
just think more of the consequences of just putting this measure into place and stuff. You know, because it it always goes further than what you think in the moment. You know, it always. Everything has consequences that if you're not going deeper, you're not gonna see at first, you know. And yeah, that's what I feel like.
I
If
completely agree.
those Yeah, if those two things, like this relationship to nature and authenticity, were more to be seen in the society, I feel like we would have a totally different society. And
Hmm.
well, yeah,
Yeah,
I think
honestly,
it's
yeah.
I think it's just an idea because I don't know if it's gonna happen one day. But yeah, that's that's being idealistic, you know. So
Yeah, the well, having a better relationship with nature, not only nature, but I think other people, is like this. Um,
mm,
I feel like there seems like selfishness and narcissism tends to. Maybe that's just my skewed negative view on the world, but I feel like there's too much of it. I feel like I wish that more
yeah,
people were a bit more. Uh, I guess a bit. How can you say it? I guess more authentic, as you say, like, right, more more expressive, more honest, and I think
yeah,
that would help just have a better relationship with others, even with nature, right? Understand that the problem is people, they see other people as, they don't see it as part of them. They really see like the external world and other people as like something else than themselves, right?
yeah,
And this,
yeah,
when you get in touch with that sort of spiritual connection, you realize that, you know, you're everything in a sense. You're nothing and you're everything, and nature is just part of you, right? And another human being
yeah,
is also part of nature, like you are also part of that. And
yeah,
it's sad that I feel, because of the technological age, social media, and all that, that we've really lost this, I guess, this spiritual sense, this sort of connection with the world, right? I feel like
yeah.
that's that would be great to have more of, right? And I think,
I
yeah, yeah, you were saying
I know.
something.
Yeah, I mean, I think like the thing is like people are connected to nature. They are, but they just don't feel they are connected, you know?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah, exactly, exactly.
something, just the awareness of it is lacking, and people just
Hmm.
don't realize that it's not a connection to create, it's a connection to feel, you know, because
Yeah,
you're already connected with this nature, but it's something you have
absolutely.
to feel, be more aware of, is what I feel. And yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And what would you, what would be your advice for, like, you know, people who are not like as idealistic, or maybe, you know, people who've lost hope? Because I feel like a lot of people who, you know, fall onto like a nameless video, it's because they sort of, you know, they've lost their sense of purpose, they lost their sense of self and all that. Like, my last question to you is, how could we how could we how could we help these people find hope, right? How could someone who feels hopeless, doesn't have any hope, like find that
Mm.
hope, and become, maybe, start becoming more idealistic, maybe, or more have more hope in their lives?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's also a hard question because oftentimes, like I felt like when I was
Yeah,
hopeless,
me too. Yeah.
I felt like I felt like most of the advice that everybody would tell me, which was truly logical, didn't help me at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
I felt like I felt like it just didn't affect me, didn't make me more happy or more sad. It made nothing to me at this point of hopelessness. So I feel the important thing to do is not to give advice, is to give advice that people can relate to.
Hmm.
Make those people, you make them understand that you were in the same situation before, and you were in the exact same sort of situation, and you just tell them that, well, it's about giving some, not just giving cold advice like, oh, do that or don't do that
Exactly.
or
Yeah.
whatever. That doesn't work. It just to show that that there's a process that they could go through that like happened in you already.
Yeah.
And I feel it's more about that I am not sure. I think that's a very theoretical solution because I am not truly entirely sure it will be the best solution. But I feel in some way it's what we need is just to be aware that there's a process. It's not like you're not stuck in your status quo, and it's gonna change. And to just yeah, to sort of find hope in hopelessness is a very
Exactly.
hard thing. It's
Yeah.
a very hard thing, but
But yeah,
yeah,
I think what you said actually is, you said that, sort of to relate, and I think first part of your answer, you said like sort of, I guess, relate in a sense. I feel like this is, you don't really need like necessarily a logical solution, right? And
yeah,
um, sometimes it just comes to, when you feel that sense of hopelessness, you just need to relate with other people who also felt that sense, or
yeah,
maybe are going through that, or are have overcame it, right? And
yeah,
sometimes it's as simple as that. That's what I like about, or coaching conversations we're having, is, you're saying is, it was more like a conversation we're having, more than like, me telling you what to do, right?
yeah, yeah,
And I
exactly.
feel like, just sometimes just talking about it, right? If you feel hopeless, or you feel like nothing is going right, is that's all you gotta do, right? And so I totally agree with you. Like, what your answer you said is like
Hmm.
probably way more valuable than any sort of textbook thing you'll find, like, on Google, right, or whatever. I mean, so I think you're totally right. It's sometimes you just need to find that person who's gone through that, and just relate with them, right, in a way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, the bit of the problem here is actually that most people like that have channels on YouTube is mostly people that are already on the top and have achieved all they ever wanted.
No. Yeah.
Like I'm not saying it's the case with you, but I'm saying that most like self-development uh, like people like Tony Robbins or whatever, the people that have you know that are on the top, and sometimes they kind of forgot how it was before, to be
Yeah. Yeah. It's
hopeless
true.
and stuff. And I feel like actually what I'm kind of doing with my channel is like showing the process of becoming sort of self-actualized INFP and also human being in general. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
and I
Absolutely.
like this idea of just showing the process because I haven't, I don't have anything really figured out. I
Yeah.
still I still have problems with emotions. I still
Okay.
have problems, and I mean, just to sort of create a sort of bridge between this hopeless person to a person that has hope, but it's what I kind of feel I'm doing. Uh, Through that because like actually it's different from channel to channel because
Hmm.
like for example with even though you overcame this existential crisis and stuff, I really feel like I relate to what you say because you still know how it was back then, but
Yeah.
most people just completely forget how it was
Mm-hmm.
back then. They just like give some sort of advice that is like cold advice, kind of like
Yeah, yeah,
how you
yeah.
should do things and stuff. And I don't relate to that much,
Yeah,
and it
same.
doesn't really help.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that I think depends also from person to
Mm-hmm.
person. But I feel like if you're an INFP or INFJ or IN whatever, or like I don't really know, but I feel it's something that is important is to relate to to someone else. It's not just like for some people it could work. For maybe ESTJs or whatever, it could work
Yeah.
just cold advice saying do that, and but yeah, it doesn't work for everybody. And I feel like when you've lost hope, which happens mostly to intuitive types also, because existential crisis is a very IN thing that happens. Most sensory
Mm-hmm.
people don't feel that because they don't go that deep within themselves.
True, very
So I
true.
mean, it's um, it's an important thing to find, yeah, to find people to relate to, and just like to find hope in hopelessness. That
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's the hardest thing ever to do, I know, but
Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, yeah.
So,
It's interesting you say that. Yeah, you haven't figured it out, but even me, like, there's a lot
yeah,
of things I haven't figured out either. Which is, no, the questions I ask you this whole, I guess, conversation is, no questions that also I ask myself that I'm not even. I think I have my
yeah,
subjective answer, but
hmm,
sometimes it's good to have like a different perspective, right? And even on the existential crisis thing, and it's still something I feel. Still something I feel
yeah,
from time to time.
yeah,
Like especially recently with the quarantine, you're very sort of, I guess, boxed in, right, in your house. And I just had like a bit of this these existential thoughts, like about like why I'm even doing Nameless. And I'm like yes, I'm helping
yeah,
people, but at the end of the day, like you know, uh, is does that even have meaning in a sense? Right? Yes, I'm helping people to improve themselves, but for what, right? For what at the
yeah,
end?
yeah.
To be happy, right?
It,
Yeah, but I mean, can't you just be happy now? Why do you need to improve to be happy? And it's like, well, my whole
yeah,
channel is about improvement, so my whole channel is meaningless
uh,
because you don't need to improve to be happy. And so it's like I look back at my 200 plus videos, I like, what am I doing? It's
that's
hilarious, but I
it's,
maybe I should share
it's
more of that, I guess,
yeah,
personal side of myself on my channel. Maybe that's what's lacking. Maybe that's why people have this idea that I have it all figured out, but I don't. Right? I think we're
yeah,
all
yeah,
figuring it out, right? In a sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's yeah, in some way, like I've heard that INFJs and INTJs are very secretive people. They don't want to talk about their personal life.
That is so
But
true. That's insanely true, and I mean maybe that's why I decide to wear a mask, right? I mean,
maybe
I mean yes, like off recording, like I don't mind showing my face, or like in real life, like I've met people in real life, but yeah, it's totally true. And I guess it's weird because me being secretive, maybe that's my way of being authentic. I don't know, me being mysterious, maybe that's my way of being authentic.
yeah,
Is
yeah,
that
yeah,
strange, right? How strange it works.
yeah, yeah. I mean, in some way, I'm not saying that you should totally dismiss this secretive side and just like unveil yourself to the world. And
Yeah.
I don't think so. But I mean, it maybe helps to do a bit of it, just a bit. But
Hmm.
yeah, not going too far either. I mean, it's yeah, that's also that I feel this entire conversation is about this paradox of like what does it mean to be yourself? What does it mean? Like it's a really hard question to answer, and like sometimes you like it does this like secretive like identity that you have, is it part of yourself, or
Yeah, yeah.
should it be challenged? Should it be it's a really really hard question to answer, and I don't think
Yeah.
anybody can give an answer to us. It's yeah, sadly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, nice. Well, it's I think we should wrap it up. So it
Yeah.
was nice talking to you, Milan. Thanks a lot for joining the podcast. And guys, if you want to watch part 2 of this, where Milan's gonna be interviewing me, I'll put it into your channel. It'll be easier. Just subscribe to him, and then you click the notification, so then you'll be able to see the part 2 where he interviews me.
If you enjoyed this video, you're gonna love this next video here about the 3 ways to deal with that feeling of emptiness. So I'll see you there.
That empty feeling that we all feel inside of us from time to time is part of the human condition. Because us humans, we're always striving towards finding a purpose in our lives or finding something meaningful